Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about an audacious challenge. And you know what really got to me is that word audacious, because man, not a lot of people do much audacious challenges nowadays. But luckily for me, I have a special guest on my show, this lovely individual, Aaron, that is going to share his personal story with us that I am excited to share with the rest of you guys. So, Aaron, thank you for coming on my show. You look awesome. I'm loving the poof.
Like it, I ever since I was like probably in sixth grade, I've been wanting salt and pepper here.
I
And I
like the way
said
you
once
said that.
yeah. So I figured once I got it, I would get Italian suits to wear. But it's too hot in Houston, so I'm gonna leave the
Oh,
Italian suit to somebody
I
else.
well, yeah, I know. I heard that the other day in Houston, it was like over 118 degrees, and I'm just like, yeah, you can barely wear clothes walking out on the street of
Yeah,
Houston.
the humidity makes it feel that way. It was about 106 with that feel like.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
So
because that's
excuse me, I'm sorry.
oh, you're
So
perfectly fine.
it
Um,
doesn't, once it get that hot, it doesn't matter because it's just all miserable.
I know it's like an oven. You're just walking there, just cooking slowly. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Well, I guess to get back onto the topic, what really made you want to challenge yourself to do something so amazing? And for my audience that don't really know, I mean, this man right here went on 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 weeks, goodness, to celebrate his 50th birthday. I'm telling you, that is amazing and somewhat challenging and hard to really comprehend that you were able to do it. I mean, were you able to do it?
Well, don't forget about the $50,000 I was trying to raise for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. That was like the most important part of it. My quest to run 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 weeks was that it was a quest. The craziest thing is that there was a pandemic going on around the world and things were
Oh,
shut down. So it was you. I mean, to plan that just regularly, the logistical nightmare is real, but to plan it with races canceling at the last minute or they having stipulations that were unrealistic. Like one marathon wanted everybody to be finished in 5 hours. And it's like, everybody can't be finished in 5 hours. The median marathon for women is just up under 5 hours. The one for men is just up under 4 hours. But it
that's
was
not
it was really
realistic.
impossible for me because about 5 years before that, I went through a workplace shooting where I got shot 5 times. And so I was trying to do this to celebrate my 50th birthday for
Yeah.
the fact that one, I was still alive after being shot at point blank range. One, two, I was doing it to have some sort of hope in humanity.
Yeah.
Because I went through something very, very shocking, very, very terrible at a
Yeah.
time where it wasn't heard of like it is right now. So if you can imagine, that was 2015, November 28th, 2015, the day after Black Friday. I was in retail management. We had a
Mhm.
situation happen and it went south real quick.
Wow.
And so I ended up getting shot in my upper left torso, where a bullet hit my rib cage and ricocheted, took a chunk of skin out. Um, I
Oh my
was on the
goodness.
ground after that. The gentleman was standing over me and he began to just, unload his gun. And it was so surreal. I wasn't afraid of anything. However, my body, the adrenaline, the I guess you could say the fear that your body has naturally, that
Yeah.
fight or flight mentality. Um, my blood pressure when the paramedics checked me, the blood pressure was like 268 over 200. So I was like sky high when it came to that. Um, but I remember saying to myself, God, is this the way it is when somebody's about to murder you? Because I just remember that, I'm thinking about my kids. What are they going to think? What
Mm.
are they going to think when they hear what happened to me? Who's going to, make sure that they be okay? And it was like
That's
God just slowed down everything to where I could see the guy pulling his trigger finger.
uh
And when he went to pull it, the Spirit of God told me to roll out the way, which I did. That was the kill shot that was going towards my chest while I was on the ground with
Wow.
my hands up like this. And then when I rolled over,
Mhm.
he told me to run. And so I got up on my feet and I ran. And I heard the guy shoot 4 more times, which I got hit in the back area 4 times. I stayed low, gave him a very small target. Just so happened that the target was my gluteus maximus in my leg area. I had a bullet go through my leg, come out my inner thigh, next to my femoral artery, missed it by a centimeter. And then I had a bullet removed by surgery, and I have a bullet fragment on my left gluteus maximus that's real small, but it's irritating, very, very irritating. And then I had one that's embedded that went into my actual right gluteus maximus.
Mhm.
And so that has caused my leg to be progressively getting weaker. So 5 years after all this happened, I'm working with my psychologist and psychiatrist to do something to try to have some meaningful thing in life, to get up, to get out, to do something. And so my doctor asked me, he said, well, what could you do that would be meaningful for you to, get up, get out? Because I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with anxiety. I suffered from
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, run. And so I began to pray, and God put this on my heart. And so it was crazy because about, let's see, I think it was like October of 2020, I began to plan it and everything. And then 2 weeks before I actually started running, my brother's granddaughter was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at the age of 2.
Oh my goodness.
So even the choosing of me running for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which, by the way, she got help through Ronald McDonald's house. But even then, with the choosing of the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, I felt that God was just sovereignly in the midst of it and
Yeah.
encouraging me the whole time. But it was a challenge. I remember the first marathon was my birthday weekend, January 15th.
Okay.
And I was going to start in Houston, Texas at the Chevron Marathon.
Okay.
They canceled. So I was like, oh man. So I had to scramble to find another one. And this is like within a couple of weeks. So I
Mhm.
found the Louisiana Marathon, which, by the way, I have their shirt on today.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I found them. And guess what?
Oh my
They
goodness.
canceled.
Goodness
And then I found a
gracious.
third one as we got closer. And guess what?
They
It
canceled.
canceled.
Was that
So,
discouraging? You know what I mean?
oh,
Because like you feel like I'm doing something because God put it in my heart, and then you go for it, and then it's like boom, 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 just knocking you back down. It's like God, this was from you. What do we do? I mean,
yeah,
how did
it
you
makes you
handle that?
question. Yes, it
Huh?
makes you question, was it God putting someone on your heart, or did you have heartburn the night before? So, you know, I was like, just like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So I find this marathon on the East Coast off of South Carolina, Hilton Head.
Okay.
There's a marathon called the Fauske Island Marathon, which is literally south of the Hilton Head Island, and you have to take a boat over to get to
Wow.
the island in order to run the marathon. So I
Wow.
get there the week of, I register, get me a ticket, and I fly there, and I'm
That's
there. I'm going to
amazing.
run this marathon. It's my birthday weekend. I'm so happy. The marathon is literally on my birthday.
Okay.
I get to the island, get off of the get off of the boat, walk through the docks, come up on the island by the main house of the island. And they have
Mhm.
this beautiful setup with these tents and everything, these heaters, because it's cool in the morning time.
Yeah.
Um, but beautiful island, beautiful. And so I go, I'm walking up, and it's all these people welcoming people, right?
Okay.
So I get there, and this lady says, you're Aaron Burrows. You're the guy that paces a lot of marathons. I was like, yes. She's like, can I take a picture with you? So she took a picture with me,
Uh-huh.
and then which I felt like was distracting me
Mhm.
while people did something for me. And so after we took the picture, I go up to the tent to get it,
Mhm.
to check in and everything, and all these people are up there,
Mhm.
and the lady says, what's your name? And I say, Aaron Burrows. And she says, you're Aaron Burrows? I say, yes. She says, everybody, this is Aaron Burrows. And then all of a sudden, they start singing happy birthday to me. I was just like, oh my
Oh.
God. So I didn't have I wasn't recorded or anything, didn't have my camera on. So after they got finished, I was like, that was so amazing. I have no idea what this meant to me. I said, do y'all mind doing it again so I can record it? So that's a special marathon to me.
That's
Very
nice.
beautiful people there, beautiful marathon, beautiful island, and they raise funds for sea turtles.
Oh, that's
Yeah, to
nice.
protect and take care of sea turtles. And the medal that you get is in the shape of a sea turtle. Very beautiful. It has a leather looking back to it. It is so awesome. But from there, I would go on to doing other marathons, and it got no better. Um,
I could imagine because I remember hearing on the news during that time, oh, we had to cancel the event. We had to cancel this marathon. We had to cancel this, this, and this. So that's kind of amazing how you were still able to find a way through the storm. You know what I mean? And
I mean, they
especially,
canceled the Houston Livestock and Rodeo Show. That was big.
oh, yeah, I mean, I
So
know my husband's from Houston and he says that the rodeo show down there is a big deal. Like people don't
yeah.
know that the rodeo show is the place where you go.
Yes, it is. And for them to cancel it, that was like, yeah, these folk is serious. So I ended up finding a lot of smaller races to do,
Okay, that's
um, races that I didn't know existed before, that wasn't on the radar before, which allowed me to meet a lot of great people.
that's always
Um,
good.
I discovered Savannah, Georgia,
Oh
which I'm in
yeah.
love with. Um,
It's a gem. It's a little hidden off. It's off the city. You take the drive
yeah,
and it is beautiful.
and they have a marathon over there. So my rock and roll marathon for Savannah got canceled. So I had to find another one, and I found another island marathon over there. And it was just so wonderful and beautiful. But as I went through the year running these marathons, they took a toll on me. trying to do them every
Yeah.
week. And I was, didn't have any idea just how much, because my goal time to finish the marathon was 5 hours and 5 minutes for my 50th birthday. But my very
Goodness.
first marathon, I wasn't able to do it. And then
Yeah.
it just only got worse afterwards. So I started going backwards from like 6 hours and a half. I was around 6 hours and 6.5 hours, 6 hours and 15 minutes. And then things just got longer and longer to where it
Yeah.
was taking me longer to finish them. However, I did finish. I went to 46 states
Okay.
and I got stuck in Houston one time. I wasn't able to leave because if anybody was flying once they opened back up from the pandemic, you realize that you got stuck in airports. People was
Yeah.
literally living out of the airports for days to weeks at a time trying to get back home. Good thing is the flight for Houston, I'm from Houston. So when they didn't have a flight, a plane, a crew, pilots, by the time they got pilots and a plane and a crew to come in at Houston,
Mhm.
I missed my window of opportunity for my connection in Chicago to get to Alaska. So I wasn't able to finish Alaska. And then I didn't finish um, uh, about, let's see, three other ones where I got stuck in Denver, Colorado, of all places. So
Wow.
I would
That's
have connecting
crazy.
flights up to the Northwest and the Plain area
Yeah.
and get to Denver. And there's like no planes, no pilots, no crews.
Yeah. That
And
must have
so,
been so frustrating.
yeah,
That's
not as
crazy.
frustrating as showing up in
Them
below freezing
canceling.
temperatures somewhere and they overbooked hotels and not
Oh,
having a
that's the
place to stay.
worst. Oh yeah, it gets
Yeah,
terrible. Because I'm from the north, so I know when it gets in these negative degrees, people don't realize like
yeah,
it's real. Like it's real. It's cold. It's a first cut your face cold. Like when they say cover up, I mean cover up because man, it gets really
yes,
cold. So yeah, I understand. And I just want to go back to your story and when you were talking about how you got shot and how the person was basically out to just kill you. I mean,
yeah,
that is an amazing testimony right there. And the fact that you've seen and you felt the spirit of God just guide you through that moment. I mean, that's a one in a million experience. You know what I mean? That's a validating experience to realize like we're dealing with a living God that is alive and
yes,
wants the best for us. And to know that you decided to switch your story around because after that when you said you went through a depression you went through your PTSD, I mean that's understandable. I mean come on, how could you not, you know what I mean, how could you not, after what you almost died, you almost left your children fatherless, I mean that's a hard thing to do, to think about and to even experience, so to hear your story, I mean it's amazing to me because I could only imagine the challenges you had to convince yourself. And it's funny because people think that just because you know God and you follow God, that you no longer have to deal with depression and you no longer have to deal with sadness. But in reality, we're human and we still deal with
yes,
that. You know what I mean? But it's the grace of God that's so good that helps us keep going. And I can see that's what you were holding on to. And that's what kept on making you keep going and going. Because let's be honest, you can stop. She's been like, yeah, you know what, God? You kept saying no, so you know what? No, I'm just gonna sit down and relax and just chill because my butt hurts anyways. You know what I mean? Like you could have made so many excuses, but you were so determined. And that's so beautiful to
yeah.
me.
It was, I mean, it was either that or ball up in a corner somewhere and just die.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was. Um, so first of all, I'm an introvert posing as an extrovert to people. So
Yeah.
I'm this people's person. But when
Yep.
this happened, I'm going through something I've never experienced in my life. PTSD, hallucinations.
Those are
Um,
real.
yeah. And wow. So when I've had my first hallucination, it was a very scary experience.
It is.
Um,
It is a very scary
yeah.
experience, especially when you associate it with the traumatic event that you experienced because it feels so real and it's intense. You know what I
Feel
mean? It's
and look.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It feels
You're
and
not
looks.
wrong.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Your body is going through that same experience and it doesn't know anything different. But then you sitting there and you like my hallucination was of the gentleman that shot me.
yeah,
So he was sitting there with the gun just grinning at me. And here I am laying in my bed afraid to move because I'm thinking he's going to shoot me.
yeah,
So yeah, it was a I got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna have to fight to get out of this darkness. I'm gonna have to fight to get out of this because it just wasn't the shooting that took place at work. And I really don't know all the details to what happened because back then they covered up everything. The police covered up stuff. The company I worked for was a multi-billion-dollar company. They covered up stuff. It's not like it is today when shootings happen. People want answers. And so these
yeah,
companies can't just throw their money around and cover up things.
yeah,
However, unfortunately for me, that was the case back then. They,
yeah,
threw their money around and the higher ups came into town and did what they needed to do. The police swept the case under the rugs. Um, they lied about the guys. Nobody willing to testify against them. And I'm like, y'all didn't even ask me. And it took about 2 years after it happened for me to even find out in the Houston Police Department where my case was even located. I
wow,
ended up finding out that it was um, with a detective in the organized crime unit. And here it is. I'm at work doing my job, not even thinking about, hey, I'm gonna get shot today. Something happens, and I recognize that people need to get to safety. So I'm getting the it was me and another manager that was my boss that was there. We were the closing managers, and so I'm getting people to safety. Um, and this goes down. I end up getting shot. Other people got shot, but I was the worst. Nobody died, by the grace of God.
yeah.
But then after that, because of what happened, I began to get treated as though I was the criminal. Like I did this to myself.
You know,
And
it always ends up happening that way where the victim is ends up being the suspect and it sucks
yes,
and it's not fair. It's truly not fair. And is this why you kind of wrote your book to tell the truth, to be authentic to everything
yeah,
that was silenced?
yeah. And so that's the book cover that you see behind me, Metal
Yeah.
Monday. And it's me sharing part of my story. It was very therapeutic. It didn't start off as a book. Um, it just started off with me talking to a friend of mine um, about my runs because he would often do articles or blogs on me. So after every week, we sat and we talked like you and I pretty much are doing through Zoom. And the next thing you know, I mean, he's like, man, I have it's like, I got a book going on here. And so he puts it in book form. And after everything is done, it takes a year and a half to do the book because, it's
Yeah.
happening as I'm traveling. And things are going on as I'm going through the traveling. I'm one run, I was out we were running on a old railroad. They call them rails to trails um, marathons, and so we're on this old railroad track where railroads used to go through in the farm country, and we're running. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, and then all of a sudden you hear what they call it a trap house, which I was like, okay, I'm
My
from the
version of a
dirty
trap
South.
house. Yeah, like my version of a trap house isn't
Yeah, that's not. But
it?
so they were having a gun exhibition, and they called it a trap house. But people haven't been out doing anything in the longest, so they had all these people, and it was about probably between 3/4 of a mile and a mile away from where we were running. But the guns that they were shooting were so powerful that you can feel the vibration or the recoil. And so you had people that were running that were Vietnam vets. You
Everybody
had,
must have been freaking out.
yeah. So you had people that were just regular people that have never been through war or been shot and this and that, and they were freaking out, and they kept saying it felt like I was being shot while I was running. It felt like I was being shot at while I was running. So what I ended up doing, I ended up pulling out my phone, recording myself, looking at myself, talking myself through this area, and it seemed like it took forever to get through. And
Oh,
so when I got to the end, I was like, it was the turnaround. We had to go back. And I was like, I can't go back through that.
yeah.
I was like, I was done. So I only did like 13, 13, the 13 and a, about a 13.1. And then you turn around to go back 13.1 to have a 26.2. But I couldn't do it.
Oh yeah,
I
I don't
couldn't
blame
do it.
you. I couldn't do that either. That's very triggering. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
To
I wasn't
all
the
of those
only one.
individuals.
I was not
Yeah.
the only one. But yeah, it was not. So I came across things like that. Um,
Wow, that's intense. Those are very intense moments. And I thank you for sharing them with me because I was gonna ask, but you already hit the nail on the gun. So thank you for that. Because man, people don't realize that what you may find as something joyful, somebody else may find that as something like not joyful at all. You know what I
terrorizing,
mean? Exactly. Terrorizing, freaking out,
very fearful.
traumatizing. And people don't realize like shooting your gun, blasting fireworks at random times, at random hours, at random locations, those are triggering for a lot of individuals with really bad PTSD, especially those vets, because man, what they've been through is real and what you went through is real. And anybody who has been shot at can relate to your story. And I thank you for sharing it with me. And I thank you for giving me this authenticity of who you are. Of basically saying, I'm an introvert, but I had to come out and be an extrovert because reality went introvert too. We have to sometimes break
Yeah,
out of our shell, and it's hard because we're so comfortable being in who we are, being just by ourselves. Because being around
yeah,
people is like completely draining. So to push yourself out there, to really challenge yourself after something really traumatic, I applaud you for this. I
yeah.
completely applaud you for this
Thank
because
you.
this is something that is beautiful. This is a beautiful story that you can tell people and you can leave off with your children and they can see, man, my dad almost died, but then he survived and he may have struggled, but then he pursued forward and now he's a greater man for it. And that is a beautiful thing to leave to your children. They have that
Yeah,
moment so that when they face something challenging, they can be like, you know what, my dad did it, I can do it. I can keep on going and just not even your children, just the people who are listening.
yeah. You
Aaron can
have
do
to.
it. You can do it too. And that's
Yes,
the thing. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to like have people realize. Like people really need to think about their lives differently because there's been so many other people who have lived a hard life as well, and they kept on going. So there's no point for you to stop. There's no point for you to stop. Life may feel like it stopped, but just because you took a break and a pause to breathe doesn't mean your world has ended. It means just that, what, it's time to shake it off and start walking slowly, go at your pace. And I love, love, love that. And ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, if you want to have Aaron's book, if you want to get to it, I have the link to get his graph copy so that you can find out and read more about his stories and what he's gone through because this is really interesting. So I thank you. And I guess to wrap up the show before it cuts us off, what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave my audience off that maybe going through something that you experience? Because let's be honest, we hear about shootings all the time, so it's common now. We're expected to hear about a shooting almost every 3 to 6 months. That's sad day in America, but that's our America now. So what can
Yeah.
be some lasting words that you can leave us off with?
I would say um, you're never prepared. You can never be prepared for it. You don't know. I don't care unless you train like the military or even the police, and some police aren't even prepared for it.
Yeah.
You'll never be prepared for it. So I tell people all the time, watch your surroundings. Um, don't take threats lightly. I don't care who they come from, whether it's family or friends or strangers. If somebody threatened to do something like this, especially at work, because I reported the stuff at work. And after it happened, it was like, oh, we thought they were playing. And it was like, really? But don't take threats lightly. Don't let people have an easy way out of their responsibilities as leaders in a company, in an organization, or your family, police, wherever, because you have a right to be secure in your person. That's part of our Constitution, and so that's why we have police and the presence of police, Homeland Security, all these things. So just be very, very mindful. I know for me, I had sort of a shooter's guilt, if you will. I think being a victim of a shooting, I had a guilt where I got shot 5 times. However, I knew a lady who got struck by a bullet during celebratory firing of a weapon on the 4th of July. A couple of blocks away, it came down, hit her in the neck, and she died. So those type of things really challenged me as to like, why did I get to live? Why did this person die after just getting struck by a straight bullet? The Uvalde that happened here in Texas, that was extremely hard for me to deal with. So you have to take your safety in your own hands for you and your family when you're out, when you're about, especially in the schools, things of that nature. Don't take these things lightly. Get involved, stay involved, because when it comes down to it, people are not going to look out for you like you will.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. Thank you for saying that because it needs to be said. It needs to be thought about. People need to realize, you know what? It's not just rainbows and gummy drops or whatever people want to call it.
Yes.
The reality is that we have to be observant of our surroundings. We have to have all of what you just said because the reality is the world is ugly. There's evil people
Very.
out there. And
Yes.
you know what? If you get caught in the crosswalk of those people that are seeking evil or just it just oozes out of them. You know what I mean? Like come on, like it just oozes out of them where they just naturally are just bad people because I'm sorry, there are bad people and there are good people, but when you interact with a bad person, it leaves a nasty taste in your mouth forever.
Yes.
When you deal with these good people, man, those people, man, they really give you hope for humanity. And I'm glad that you wrote this book and I'm glad that you shared your story because it gives people hope again. It gives people this acknowledgement, you know what, like I need to think about my life differently, my children's life differently, my surroundings differently, how people talk to me differently. You know what I mean? That they people, it's a wake-up call. You know
Yes.
what I mean? People need to be not be so nonchalant and act like everything's okay, and you can be just like nothing, chimmy chimmy with the world. And you can't be like that. And that's the
No, you
sad
can't.
truth of the world that we live in, you know? And I
And you got
thank
to
you for,
hold people accountable for
yes.
their jobs, especially when it comes to the police. As I talk about it in the book, when I was at the Baltimore Running Festival weekend, they had a big tattoo convention up in Baltimore. They had a big concert that was going on too, and they also had a big NFL game. So it was a lot of people in Baltimore, Maryland at that time. And I found myself in a situation where there was another incident public where this guy was about to shoot some people. I started filming him. He got mad at me, pretty much like the guy from work. And, so he threatened to kill me. But at that time, I was fighting for my life. He just didn't realize it. So I got in his face and I was like, told him. And I said, it won't be the first time I got shot. And he told me, he said, yeah, but you ain't get shot in the head. And he, did this towards me.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, well, then do it. And he just looked at me and smiled and shook his head and he rolled off. Later, the police would talk to me and stuff. This guy went around and started shooting people randomly. And so I, was letting them know about the police officers earlier. And so one of the police officers was a federal officer that was out there. And he was like, oh, I thought that guy was just playing. And it just ticked me off because that's what I
Yeah.
heard. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what you mean? People are telling you he had a gun on him. But, this guy just didn't want to confront
Yeah.
anybody with a gun.
Yeah. It's scary
And
because
here he is, he's a federal officer. I mean, he got his bulletproof vest on, he got his weapon on him and everything. And he's sitting there. We were in front of the Under Armour corporate store in Baltimore, Maryland, where it happened. One of the guys he went to go shoot happened to be an undercover police officer who pulled his gun at the same time.
wow.
And so that guy had his wife with him. So he didn't want to engage with the person. He was just trying to protect his wife. He was off duty. He had a service weapon with him. And I'm sitting up here like, wow. And so all these security officers, all these police officers that people have been complaining that this guy has been going around talking about he's going to shoot up the place, shoot up people. None of them did anything. And you know what their excuse was? Oh, we thought he was just playing.
Yeah, that's just a cop-out excuse for not wanting to do your job, to not wanting to actually do something about it because you know what, you wanted to just take the easy road out. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is to me.
Well,
And
if
I
nothing
hate
else, it's a
hearing that.
terroristic threat.
It is. And it
So,
doesn't matter exactly. If you're terrorizing humanity, you're terrorizing the
yeah.
people around you. I absolutely agree. Oh my goodness, yes.
So the
And
next
I
morning at the marathon, when we went out at the marathon, I had to go out early because I was being interviewed by the news station. But when you went out, they amended the security at the marathon. They had, way more police presence. They had the military there. They had
goodness.
snipers on the roof. They
Too
had
late for that, right? Too
yeah,
late for
well,
that.
not for the marathon, but for the other events that happened the previous day, it was because the guy went around shooting people.
And that's the sad thing about it, is that something tragic has to happen for people to actually take real action, and it shouldn't be like that, and it
Yeah.
sucks. But I don't want us to get cut off because it's about to wrap up. Well, I love these conversations when they get so good where it's like time is just escaping. Like these are great conversations. Thank you so much, Aaron. You have been such a delight to be on my show. You